Hi there everyone, and welcome to the One Lonely Owl channel, YouTube channel. My name is Terry. Typically I host a knitting yarn related podcast, and if you have obviously stumbled on this video, you know that I've been away for a little while. I wanted to do I would say a quick update, but I don't know how quick it'll actually be. I have about an hour before my kids get home from school, so that's as much as you'll get, but maybe even a little bit less. I wanted to spend some time just giving you an update of where I've been over the last 5 months. So first things first, my name is Terry, like I said. I have a knitting yarn related YouTube channel called the One Lonely Owl podcast. This will not be a regular podcast episode. To be fair, I've been away for so long, and so much has changed. I haven't really had a chance to actually sit down and make some notes of the things that I normally talk about. So I may smatter some things in here and there just to give you a heads up of sort of what I've been working on, but I won't show you any projects or things like that. So if that's what you're here for and you're not looking for a life update, then you can maybe skip over this one, and I'll be back hopefully sooner this time around. So I do have a few notes just here. I will be referring to those because, like I said, it's been 5 months since I've been here last, and I wanted to have a few notes to trigger my memory, so I didn't forget to tell you something. So yeah, first things first, I've been away for 5 months. That was almost the entirety of our winter here at most of the fall and the entirety of winter. The last recorded podcast was done and viewed or uploaded on September 15th. It's now March 6th. There's been a lot of reason for me to be able to, or to want to podcast in that time, because typically a lot of people do most of their things in winter, like their knitting, yarn related, fiber related projects in winter. I, on the other hand, went the opposite. I haven't done a ton of work on any knitting or other related things, and I'll explain that a little bit in a minute. So I missed winter. I did not stay on track like I said I would like to. I did mention that I wanted to stay on track with recording every 2 weeks in my last episode. I have not done that. Again, I'll explain a little bit more when we get there. So this won't be a normal podcast. It's too much to cover. I haven't had a chance to actually put my notes together of all the things that I've done. I will say I haven't done a ton of knitting, but I've done a lot of other things. So I will get back to the regularly scheduled programming once I have a chance to sit down and make note of the things that I have been working on. Excuse me. So if you're watching this in chronological order and you just watched episode 21, you will note that I have a significant amount of hair compared to what I did in that last episode. It's funny when you're doing these sorts of things, you don't really notice those types of things until they're kind of right in your face. Like, I obviously knew my hair was growing, but I hadn't realized how much until I went back and I took notes on my previous video. Again, for those of you that are new here, I'm a cancer patient. I guess you could call me a cancer survivor. So I have had no evidence of disease in my last scan, which was done in January of 2025. So I'm very excited to share that news. I don't want to get ahead of myself, but I do want to celebrate the little wins, and having a clean PET and a CT scan was a very big win for me. So I'm happy to see those results and now have a plan for the future. But that's why you've noticed a drastic change in my hair from being very long to none at all to where we are today. I've even actually had it cut. I had let it grow and grow and grow, and you probably can't tell on the video, but I have very, very, very thick hair. And when it was growing back, it was just kind of doing whatever it wanted. Pardon me. And I wasn't able to control it at all. It was sort of doing... I was saying to my friends that I kind of looked like a 50-year-old man in the 70s, kind of like Ron Burgundy or something. Like, it was just this big head of hair going in whatever direction it felt like. And so I had my hairstylist cut it for me and give it some shape, but also get rid of a lot of the extra bulk where the curls and things were kind of clumping together. So I haven't had short hair in almost my entire life, so I don't actually know if I normally had curly hair because my hair was always long. It was never really curly when it was long, but I have noticed since it's been short, it is quite wavy and has a fair bit of body to it. So some of the people that I've spoken to around cancer and chemo treatments have called it chemo curls. I don't know if it'll stick around. I don't really know what to do with it. Like I said, I've never really had short hair, so I'm not exactly sure how to style it or do things with it. But anyway, it's a new and it's a fun adventure. And like I said, I was really happy to get some of that weight cut from it because it was very thick and very heavy and very unruly. So now at least it does what I tell it to. What else? So this video is going to be sort of a quick rip the band-aid off. I'm not going to do any editing. I'm not going to do any links. There's not going to be any show notes. I wrote no editing, no links, no promises. Like I said, this is a little bit of a stream of consciousness video where I'm just going to talk and share some of the things that I have been up to in the last 5 months since I've seen you. Quite honestly, it was just me getting back on the horse. I wanted to get in front of the camera just to get in front of the camera. I have been away for too long and it was way too easy for me to just stay away. One of the things that I've been struggling with over the past 5 months is anxiety and depression with respect to obviously all the cancer things that I have been dealing with. And it sort of hit me in the middle of November. Well, middle of November was probably when it started. And then stuck with me throughout the winter, that I just didn't have kind of a get up and go to do the things that I normally was doing. I'm coming out of the fog, well, almost quite literally, because we're coming into spring here in the Northern Hemisphere. So I am finding that the sun is really helping. But like I said, I just kind of wanted to get in front of the camera to say that I was in front of the camera to get the ball rolling again. So here we are. I am not wearing any knitwear today. I am wearing just a store-bought shirt and a new pair of Birkenstock slippers that I will show you because I have shown my Birkenstocks on here before. This is a pair of Birkenstock slippers. They are on my feet every day, every minute of every day, and I will explain that. Actually, I guess I'll start to explain that now. So I've mentioned this in the past. The treatment that I am currently on is called immunotherapy. I'm taking 2 drugs. One of them is called pembrolizumab and the other is called bevacizumab. And I don't know what their generic names are, or their brand names rather. Anyway, so I'm taking these 2 drugs, and one of the side effects of one of the drugs, and I can't remember which one it is, or one of the potential side effects is arthritic symptoms. So I had been going through some pretty, I would say drastic changes in my body where my feet, my ankles, my knees, my hands were all very, very sore. They were very arthritic feeling. And one of the recommendations that my oncology team recommended was to wear footwear in the house at all times so that my feet weren't impacted too much by the arthritis symptoms. So I ordered myself a pair of Birkenstock slippers right before Christmas, and I have not taken them off my feet, I don't think, unless I go outside, in which case I switch them for Birkenstock shoes and I go outside with those. So I absolutely love these slippers. I'm a big, big, big Birkenstock fan. Again, if you're new here, you wouldn't know that, but some previous episodes I do talk about a big Birkenstock haul that I did because it's basically all I wear on my feet. Now that I've got these arthritis symptoms, I think it's all I'll wear for the rest of my days. I don't think I'm ever going to wear anything else, but these slippers are super cozy, really comfortable, and they have the nice sole that really helps my foot stay comfortable so that it doesn't hurt when I put my feet on the ground. I'll kind of go down a bit of a timeline of things that have happened. I'm going to do a list of things that I've done that was fun. The things that I did for fun in the time that I've seen you last, since the time that I've seen you last, and then I will maybe go through some of the medical things if I can remember those. So, actually I'll do the medical things first because those are not fun. In October, I started a course. I mentioned that in my last video. So I started a course at the Athabasca University, and I did 2 or 3 quizzes. I was gung-ho, ready to go, and then in right after Thanksgiving in Canada, which was I think mid-October, I ended up having a kidney infection. So again, my previous video, I mentioned that I had stents and then I had those removed. I actually had a kidney infection and it was really nasty. I ended up in the hospital. I ended up on some pretty hefty drugs, and I had paused on taking my course. So it's unfortunate, but I sort of put a pause on the course and I'm hoping to pick that up again later. So kidney infection in October. I went to Vegas in mid-November. I think I'm going to sort of mix these all together because they're a bit of a timeline. So let me rewind a little bit. In Ontario, in late September, I did a trip to Ontario with some friends from high school. We had an absolute blast. I won't go into too much detail because, again, it was late September, so it was 5 months ago. But it was one of the best things that I've ever done for myself. We, like I said, have been friends since high school. Some of us hadn't seen each other in decades. Some of us, like 20 years it had been since we'd seen each other, which I can't even believe I'm saying because I can't believe I'm old enough to have friends that I haven't seen for 20 years. Where that time goes, I have no idea. We had an absolute blast. We hung out on the beach. Again, it was late September, but it was beautiful. It was windy, but it was absolutely stunning. We watched Ted Lasso on days that it rained. We had, drinks and food and so many laughs. We stayed up hours and hours in late in the evenings talking about old times and reminiscing and telling old stories, and then as well, sharing new stories and things that have gone on in our lives since the last time we'd seen each other. It was absolutely wonderful. I had just had my port inserted, so I was careful, but I did get in the hot tub, but I made sure that I didn't get it wet. And then came home to start the fall. I hit 1,000 straight days of meditation, which was really fun. I was so proud of myself for that. I still haven't missed a day, knock on wood. I don't know where I'm at now, but I guess, 1,200 or so, something like that. We had the Northern Lights here at my home. I went outside in late October and photographed some of the Northern Lights. They were absolutely stunning. If I have a chance, maybe in my next video, because like I said, I just want to record this one and get it uploaded. But in the next video, maybe I'll put some photos of some of the things that I've talked about in this week's video. So like I said, maybe some of the pictures of the vacation that I took, some of the pictures of the Northern Lights, those types of things. Banff Wellness Retreat. So I live close to the Rocky Mountains, I'm sort of close to Calgary, close to Banff area. And there's a retreat in Banff every year called the Banff Wellness Retreat, and it is one of my favorite things that I do for myself. So my sister-in-law, myself, and my best friend go to Banff, and we participate in all kinds of different seminars and things on yoga, meditation. This one, there was menopause, some mediums, crystals, Ayurvedic medicine, all types of things. There was all sorts of things that are covered there. So we went and did that and had an absolutely wonderful time. And of course, it's in Banff. Banff, Alberta is one of the most beautiful places on earth. So especially in the fall, it's one of my most favorite places to go. The scenery there is just unreal. Again, especially in the fall, and how it feels, the cool air, the smells of the leaves on the ground. It was wonderful. I already talked about the kidney infection that I had in October. So I started the course in October, and then I got a kidney infection in October, and then we went to Vegas in mid-November. So my husband chose not to go. We have a puppy. He's not yet 2 years old. So my husband decided to stay home. So my mother, father, brother, sister-in-law, their kids, me, and my 2 kids decided to go to Vegas for a vacation. I had kind of been at the end of my rope, I suppose, if you want to say that, where I just needed a bit of a runaway. So I decided that I was going to do this trip with them, and because I was going to have my family there, it would be a little less work for me. Because obviously my husband wasn't going to be going, so I didn't want to do all of that on my own. So we went to Vegas. I'm going to spare you the details, but on the plane ride down there, I had an absolutely horrendous kidney attack. Like I said, I'll spare you all the details, but I was managed by the flight attendants who did an absolutely wonderful job. So thank you to those ladies on the WestJet flight that I took down there. I was met on the outside of the plane with the firefighters from Las Vegas, and they offered to take me to the hospital because I was in I would say I was in an urgent situation. It wasn't an emergency, but because I knew that it was my kidneys, and when I had applied for insurance, I wasn't covered for anything that was pre-existing, so I declined the offer to go to the hospital and I went straight to the hotel. My family met me at the hotel. It ended up being a trip that I'll say I got through. I didn't particularly enjoy it because it was very, very challenging. I spent the trip in a wheelchair. My children they had a blast. I had fun. But yeah, I wish there was more kind of happy stories that I could share with you that we did down there. We did do a lot of really fun things. The kids had a really great time. I just wish that I was a bit more functional throughout. Glad I did it. Glad I made it through it. But I would not recommend going on an airplane when you have kidney dysfunction because it is excruciating. So I would be careful if I were you. Speak to your doctors before you travel. That is one thing that I kind of wish I had been aware of. Late November, my husband had another surgery. I've shared a little bit about his journey on this channel, not very much. Again, it's not my story to tell, so I will just say that he had a surgery late November. He was recovering for several weeks. He's doing much better now, and we're looking forward to what's next for him. We had Christmas. Christmas was an absolute blast. We did a really low-key Christmas this year. We spent it at home. We didn't travel anywhere. Again, because of my sort of medical situation, we were kind of limited with what we could do. And I was really being cautious of where I was going, where I was spending my time, how much energy I was expelling. And so we chose to stay at home and have a really nice, quiet Christmas at home. And that's exactly what it was. It was exactly what we needed. The kids had a blast. We had a blast. We had lots of rest. It was absolutely wonderful. Right around Christmas, I had another kidney infection, so I was on another antibiotic. And I ended up having an allergic reaction to that antibiotic. It was terrible. So my daughter came over to me one day over Christmas and she said, "Mom, why do you have dots all over your face?" So I had a fairly severe allergic reaction to sulfa drugs where my face exploded, my body was covered in hives, ended up in the emergency room again, and obviously did not take any of those antibiotics any further. But at this point, I'm dealing with a kidney infection, arthritis symptoms. I'm trying to manage all of these drugs, and I now have an allergic reaction that I've exploded, and I'm itchy all over. So that wasn't the most fun. So that brings us probably to like early January. I ended up in the clinic where I go for my regular office appointments with my oncology team, and we made a new plan. So I was referred to a rheumatologist. I saw her. She gave me some drugs. The arthritis is not gone, but it is being very well managed. I had my port that was inserted in August or September. I ended up having that removed because it was never functional. So I think it was used. It was used once for infusion of treatment, and then it was never used after that. So basically for the 5 months that I haven't seen you, I've never actually got any benefit from it. So that was really unfortunate. It was removed late January, I believe. Yeah, I think it was late January or mid to late January I got it removed. And then I was seeing wound care on a daily basis. So basically they had to remove the port and had to pack it so that the chest wall would come forward to meet the skin, and that's where we are today. So it was several weeks. I think it was close to 3 months, maybe even more of me, right? January, February. Oh yeah, so no, not 3 months, but probably 2, of getting it packed and going to see wound care on a daily basis. I was sort of graduated from a daily basis to every other day, and then just recently discharged with just some home care for myself to do. So that was a little bit bittersweet, if I'm being honest. I wanted the port to work because I know that my veins are still a little bit finicky and they don't like participating when it comes to getting an IV, but it needed to come out because it was infected and it was nasty. Went on a new group of antibiotics, and now, knock on wood, but I'm all clear of all infections as far as I know. So we're moving forward ahead with the immunotherapy and the rheumatology doctor recommendations. So that's where we are today. I've already mentioned that I had to pause the course due to all those medical things that we just talked about. The last thing that I talked about in my previous video that I wanted to mention here today was I talked a lot about returning to work and returning to normal. And I'm 5 months since that point, and still, quite honestly, nowhere near where I need to be able to return to work. And I'm coming to terms with it. I had a conversation with my psychologist the other day about the possibility of like just being okay with where I'm at, and if it happens, and that's great. Same thing with the schooling. If I'm able to get back to doing schooling, that's great. If not, I mean, I am going to meet myself where I'm at, and that's the decision, the choice that I have made for myself. So let's see. I want to talk a little bit about some knitting stuff. I feel like I'm just verbal diarrhea in front of this camera, which is probably what's happening, and I will apologize in advance for that. That's just sort of where I'm at today, so that's what I'm going to do. So the knitting and the things that I have been doing. I last spoke about my chemo Christmas socks. They are both completed, but they just need heels, which I haven't done because that requires a little bit of thinking. I did not work on my Newfoundland flag at all. That requires way more brain space than I had capacity for at the time. I did knit about 10 dishcloths for my best friend for Christmas. So I talked about those on my previous episode where I have these dishcloths sort of always on the go. She actually bought me a ball of yarn on our way out to the Banff Wellness Retreat because she just likes these dishcloths as well, and she wanted me to make her some. And I told her that I would make her some at the Banff Wellness Retreat, and then I ended up knitting the entire ball and gave it to her for Christmas. So that's where we are with that. I met my goal of zero yarn purchases in 2024. I ended up buying an advent calendar, which I have been open about since the beginning. But other than that, I purchased absolutely no yarn in 2024. No yarn related objects, absolutely nothing. And I'm really proud of that. I think that is a big win for me. Maybe you can't tell from behind me, but I have a massive stash, and I do not need to do any shopping, to be honest. I have a great stash of all of my favorite yarn dyers. I have lots of things that are already earmarked for projects. So I've got sweaters quantities already. I've got sock yarn coming out of my ears. So I'm doing quite well to keep me busy for the foreseeable future. So I might even be able to get away with not buying any yarn in 2025. Who knows? I did say that I didn't do as much knitting because of the arthritis symptoms that I had, but now that I have a bit of control of those arthritis symptoms, I have been doing a bit more knitting. So I did start, I won't show it to you, maybe I'll show it to you in the next episode, but I did start the Fern and Fern by Jennifer Steingass. It's this gorgeous green color. I believe it's called Moss from Polka Dot Creek. And the natural for the color work. I was a little bit nervous about the color work when I mentioned it last time. I still was a bit nervous when I picked it up. I was a bit stressed when I was knitting it too, so it did turn out a little bit tight, but I did go up a needle size. It looks like it will block fairly nicely. I've got the body completed. I just need to bind off the ribbing and then do the sleeves and I'm done. But I will show that hopefully to you in the next episode, which won't be 5 months from now, I hope. What else? I started a new pair of Christmas socks. Again, I'll show those to you. I started those around Christmas, I believe, because my best friend gave me a ball of yarn for Christmas. It's a nice little not a variegated, striped, self-striping colorway that has a bit of fun to it. It sort of looks like Flota, if you're familiar with, I think that's how you pronounce it, Flota. It sort of looks like one of those, although again, hopefully I have the ball band, but I can't remember exactly. Anyway, I'll show that again when I do a proper episode. And reading. I have been devouring books because I've had the arthritis symptoms and I wasn't able to knit as much. I was just reading, and so I was reading paperback or like hardcover books. I was reading audiobooks. I was listening to audiobooks. I was doing it all and just devouring some books. So I will share some of that with you as well. I also was catching up on all of my favorite YouTube channels. I typically post those below. Like I said, this episode is just going to be a record and upload. There's not going to be too much fluff. No show notes, no nothing, no links, no any of that. But yeah, YouTube, catching up with some of my favorite YouTubers, and just generally trying to stay ahead of the curve and keep my appointments and keep up with infections that I've been having. It's been a lot of work to try to stay on top of all of that. I generally would say hi mom, because I know that she's watching. At the beginning of an episode, because it wasn't a real episode, I forgot to do that, so I apologize. But Mom, I still want to say hi. I don't have anything else that I really want to share today. I do want to apologize if it is just a bit of a, like I said, a bit of a verbal diarrhea. I had a lot to get off of my chest. I had 5 months of pent up ideas and things in my head and things that I had gone through that I wanted to share with you. But yeah, I'll apologize now for it being all over the place, for being more of a life update than it is anything to do with the channel. But I will thank you for coming and thank you for watching. If you are new here, please feel free to go back and watch previous episodes. They are more yarn and knitting related. I do share a little bit about my cancer journey throughout each video if there's anything that I do have that I would like to share. I would encourage you to like or subscribe, click the bell notification so that you can be notified if there's ever any new content, hopefully, which will be a bit more frequent now that I'm feeling a little bit better. And if you are not new here, I will thank you again for coming back. I do really appreciate this community and I'm enjoying creating this content. So thank you so much for joining me today, and we will see you in the next one, whenever that one may be. Talk to you soon. Oh, and just for fun, stay where you're to till it comes where you're at. Bye.